Halbig with Zero, and we're going to dive right into episode number 14. And I tell you, I've got some great news. We're going to give you updates on our trip on July 27th to 16th up to Hartford, Connecticut. We had a hearing before the entire Connecticut FOIA commissioners, and we had two cases on appeal. The first case had to deal with the 4 dash cams of 1 Lieutenant Cinco, 2 Officer Seabrook, 3 Officer Bahamonte, and Officer Chapman. Now, those are 4 dash cams that were taken by the Connecticut State Police from the Newtown Police Department as mutual aid. There were no search warrants used. I mean, this is just a mutual agreement sharing public records from one agency to another. And they basically put it in their property storage room. So that was one of the issues. The other issues is that we wanted to get the incident and narrative reports of Chief Kehoe, Lieutenant Vangeli, Captain Rios, and Lieutenant Cinco. And again, what they're claiming, the state of Connecticut, the Attorney General's Office, and Emergency Services are claiming that those are witness statements and they're protected and exempt from public records. So those are the things we had to argue. Now, with that being said, I urge every one of you to immediately go to our website, www.sandyhookjusticereport.com. Watch the hearing on the Connecticut Film Channel that they had. I can't believe they actually had a film group there filming it for the state of Connecticut. And please, you have to watch it to understand. It's hard for me to explain it, but about 41 minutes into the hearing is when my attorney, Kay Wilson, and I appear to argue our appeal. I promise you, if you listen very carefully, it's the first time with all of my trips up there that the hearing officer actually had to back down. They made him back down, and they're going to have to redo the entire hearing because I think the commissioner saw what was going on, and I don't think they want their names attached to that. So we're going to go back up here shortly. But again, in the meantime, if you watch the hearing, I think it'll explain it, and I look forward to hearing from you. 352-729-2559. Listen, don't be afraid to call and ask questions. I think they have dug a hole so deep, they're trying to figure out how to get out of it. And so that's just step one. And then there's some other issues. The next day, we actually had a chance to travel down to the Newtown School Board, and one of our public FOIA request was copies of all the property insurance that the Newtown School Board has, their declaration page, their casualty declaration page, their workers' compensation declaration page. And we even told them 2 weeks ahead of time that we're coming, and please have all of these documents ready for us to review. Well, I don't like to just show up at the last minute and play games. Now they're playing games. I don't like to do that. So when we showed up with a film crew and we had somebody out of New York, and New York Magazine showed up, Monty Frank, the school board attorney, shows up with about 900 pages, and he hands them to my attorney, and they put them on our conference room table. Not one page had to do with what our requests were all about. Everything that were handed to us had to do with auto insurance, tractor trailer. It had nothing to do with property insurance like TIV, which stands for Total Insurable Values of the Schools. And we were primarily focused on Sandy Hook from 09 through 012. And we did not get one document. We requested a copy of the adjuster's report with all the pictures showing the damages, and there was nothing there. I mean, this Monty Frank, he's an officer of the court, and he's doing everything he can to violate the law and just run interference. And his day is coming. That guy can only do that for so long, and his little hourglass is going to run out. And so That was unbelievable that we got no records whatsoever. Then we headed down to the code enforcement offices. One of the big issues that people and researchers have talked about all over this internet is that the school was not ADA compliant, and I totally agreed with them. There is no ADA compliance. You know, they have portables, but they have no walkways for children, you know, with wheelchairs. In 2010, the federal law mandated and required that by the end of 2000, every school would be ADA compliant. Well, we just don't see it at Sandy Hook. All of the handicap parking spaces are not properly marked and tagged. So we asked the code enforcement officers for a copy of their inspection reports. Do you think they provided that to us? Absolutely not. They told us to put it in writing. Then I handed them, you know, my emails. I said, look, you guys have had it for 2 weeks. See, here's the problem. Let me tell you what they're doing so you'll really, really understand. What they love to do is say no records can be found. No records can be found, causing me to have to hire an attorney, have to write an appeal, which costs a lot of money. Then I've got to fly up there. Then I got to get a hotel room. They know that they're making me spend money. And if it weren't for the donors making that happen for me, I think I'd have been gone long, long time ago. They know that. They're waiting for me to drop out because of lack of funding. And, you know, this is a mission that I've done on my own. My wife's not involved in it. I can't ask my family to do something that they don't believe in. And you know what? I am on my own, and I understand that. And I knew when I was getting into it that's what's going to happen. Then I went down to the Newtown school board offices, and again, I wanted copies of all the documents dealing with the 26 children from the Sandy Hook Elementary School going to the Super Bowl. And I got a letter from the school board attorney, Monty Frank, actually telling us, not me, that there are no such records exist. Now I want you to think about what that means. What he's saying to all of us, every one of us across this country and who are listening to this program, that these kids never went to the Super Bowl, that these kids really don't exist, that the Newtown school board never sent those kids to the Super Bowl. That's what that letter says on his letterhead representing Cohen and Wolf and the Newtown School Board. So what did I do? I gave him copies of every email that I received from an anonymous source showing that the school superintendent, Janet Robinson, and the board members approved the trip. It shows the money and how the money came in. It shows how the parents received the letter of the kids that were going. They had to sign parental permission forms. They had to fill out the NFL release forms, the CBS release forms. They had to fill out their airplane ticket for TSA. I have all of those documents. So what I did, I made copies of it, and I actually handed it to someone in the school board offices to hand to Monty Franks, and since he's such a freaking liar, that the next time I request documents, he can at least send those documents back to me, because those belong to the Newtown School Board. Their day is coming. I promise you this. Their day is coming. I'm going to be relentless, and I will not give up. That is the Connecticut Bar President. He represents all of these attorneys as the president of the Connecticut Bar. He's an officer in the court, and he outright lies. How is that even legal? How can an officer of the court intentionally and willfully deceive and lie? Now that is something that I've never experienced in my lifetime till I got involved in Connecticut. So basically that's a sort of an introduction where we're going to talk about, and zero questions.
Well, Wolf, I was really pleased. I felt that a lot of progress was made at this last hearing, at least a lot more than previous meetings. And I really want to know what happened with insurance in the long run. I didn't look over the papers that you were handed, so if you could just tell the audience about that.
Well, you know what really caught my attention? A friend of mine sent me a document that they found in the Newtown School Board business minutes, and it was published June 30th, 2013. It shows where the Newtown School Board, their insurance carrier gave them $1.6 million. They paid them $1.6 million for claims that they submitted for the damages at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Now, being a former insurance agent, I mean, I let my license, I mean, I used to be an adjuster. I let it lapse, but I didn't take some of those refresher courses. But here's the thing. We asked for copies of the declaration page, which tells us what they have for property insurance, what the value is. We wanted the casualty insurance, workers' comp insurance, because 6 teachers died. Well, there's a way worker comp deals with death when they are employees of the school district. So we were requesting those documents. I wanted to see pictures of all the damages because that's another requirement. And when we were in that office, Zero, we did not get one single page with our request. And Monty Frank knows, since he did what he did, that we're going to now, Kay Wilson's going to have to go back to her office, probably spend a couple hours filing an appeal, sending all those documents out. Maybe we need witnesses. I don't know. There goes subpoena. But this attorney, Monty Frank, willfully and intentionally withheld all of that information, and we know they have it. He is just trying to drain me out of money and me having to fly up there all the time.
Some have made comment about your history as an insurance adjuster, and your point that you were making was you have an idea about how insurance adjustment actually works because you used to do that as a job. Not that you still do it, but that you have an idea of how these processes and classifications actually work.
Well, yeah, you make a good point here, but let me make sure that we're crystal clear now, since this is our program.
Hmm.
When I was the director of risk management for a pretty large school district, I have no license, but watch this. I am responsible for all property insurance. I am responsible for all casualty, all auto insurance, because remember, school buses, we got over 200 school buses, okay? I'm responsible for workers' compensation, health benefits, and, and it just didn't make sense that here I've got all of this responsibility, but I really wasn't licensed. So I took it upon myself and I told the superintendent, I'm going to go and I'm going to get an adjuster's license for all lines so I can know what the terminology is, how these people play the game. When you become an insurance adjuster, you know how they play games, okay? And I thought in my job, I didn't have a need for it. And in my private life, I needed it because I worked for a school district. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I'm officially licensed by the state of Florida. I mean, it was a long class. I had to pass a test. I had to be certified. I had to be fingerprinted. So I did everything I needed to do to make sure I understand this insurance industry.
Okay. What about the progress of Sandy Hook Justice Report as a whole? We're looking at 1,500 subscribers. We're looking at 800,000 hits on the website. I mean, this has really taken off.
Well, I think with everything that's happening in this country, with all of the shootings, with the Second Amendment being under attack, I think people are starting to say, why? What's going on? I think they're starting to really ask why. And I think the website, that as a means of people finding the facts, I think it's a good, healthy place for people to go, look at the facts, and make their own decisions. This website was never designed to try to persuade you, okay? It's simply there for you to look and you decide for yourself, and you ask questions, and you and your family sit there and talk about it. Let me tell you something. There is a wealth of information. There is a lot of research that's gone into us, and there's some stories that go with it. So I hope people will appreciate that, and I think they have.
Well, I really look at it as a resource hub.
I agree. It's a both a resource. You know, if you look at the people who are going on to the website, there are a lot of media. There are a lot of media from overseas are starting to look at it. So, like I said, I think the people in Newtown, Connecticut have dug themselves such a deep hole that the day is coming. And I'm excited. I hope I'm still around to see that day.
Well, I, to be honest, I'm really hoping that you'll be around as well because I believe that in the long run, our work is going to really pay off.
Well, Zero, just walk with me on this, okay? Think this through with me. Be my devil advocate. I am having probably the most difficult time. It's not about the shooting, it's not about children dead, it's not about parents and all the money, millions and millions they've raised. I mean, it's not about all that. What really, really disturbs me is knowing that being in this school industry for over 30 some years, that today, as you and I are talking, there are 26 children who were fourth graders back in 2013 when they sang before 110 million people worldwide. There were 88,000 people in the stands screaming and yelling. There were over 3,000 journalists from all over the world in the stadium. And the children from Sandy Hook Elementary School who sang as a choir during the pregame, they have been silenced, Zero, for over 3 years. They have been given a gag order that they have never, ever been allowed to talk to the media, to their friends about the most exciting day in their life. Those 26 children in the middle of the Super Bowl stadium singing with Jennifer Hudson. Then they get to watch Alicia Keys sing the national anthem. Then they actually get to watch Beyonce at halftime. And I actually have emails from the NFL where they got to be filmed with Beyonce, you know, interacting, having a good time. They got to meet all of the head coaches, their families, their children. They got to meet all of the football players from both teams, all of their families, their children, all of the dignitaries. Can you imagine? This is a fourth grade child. It has got to be the most exciting day in their life that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. But can you imagine somebody telling them that you can never, ever talk about it? Who gives a child a gag order? Not just one, all 26. And Zero, to this day, as we're talking, and the reason I'm bringing it up, I was up at the Newtown School Board on July 28th, where this attorney, Monty Frank, tells me, and in a letter, that they have no records whatsoever of those 26 children going to the Super Bowl. So that beckons the question, are they missing? Have they been sold to some other people? Where are the parents? How can the parents threaten and intimidate their own child not to ever talk about this? How can parents silence their own child on the greatest day of their life? There is something seriously, and I mean seriously wrong in Newtown, Connecticut when something like this can happen. Where's the police department? I sent them an email this morning requesting a full investigation to find those 26 children. And I want to meet them in a group. I want to make sure that they're mentally and physically safe from harm. You don't suppress children's feelings. You never do that. God, can you imagine you're a dad, a mom, and you don't allow your child to ever speak or have feelings or emotions, and you can't let them express it? You're hurting that child for the rest of their life. And that's exactly what happened in Newtown, Connecticut. But hey, think about it. 110 million people watched Sandy Hook Elementary School choir sing. Do you know how much money must have been coming in from all over the world to help heal that community? They used those children for exploitation to make money, for ratings. They used those children, child endangerment. They exploited those kids.
Right.
And that's what our mission ought to be right now. They got to be somewhere. And I pray to God they're not dead. I mean, we've already got 20 children they claim are dead. Now we got 26 children who are missing. That's 46 children. Where the hell are they?
Well, when I think about this gag order, it makes me very curious what could have been said by these children that a gag order needed to be placed in the first place.
Here's a question for you, Zero. Tell me, why would you not allow those children to be interviewed by the media? Why can't they be interviewed by their own local newspaper, the Newtown Bee? Why were they never invited before the school board and be told, thank you for doing such a great job?
And everything is just totally ass backwards with this entire scenario.
But just remember, there are 26 children somewhere today, as you and I are talking, are having to live with this. They're having to live with the threat, intimidation. I mean, can you imagine having even to think like this? I mean, I feel sick even saying it. You don't have 26 children just stay silent for over 3 years. I tell my granddaughter, we went somewhere the other day. You know, got some ice cream stuff. My wife doesn't like me doing all that stuff. I told my granddaughter, don't you ever tell her we did that, okay? Don't tell her. And guess what she does as soon as we got home?
The ice cream was yummy.
He says, you're not going to believe what Opa did. He bought me ice cream. Now, how do these 26 children stay silent? Am I making a point here, or?
Yeah, it really makes me wonder. I mean, when you give legal terminology on paper to a child and expect them to understand the documentation and the instructions therein, that doesn't make sense to me how they would abide by that.
Okay, let's go step 2, Zero. They got a gag order, okay?
Hmm.
What's the consequences if they talk to someone? That's what I can't figure out. What would have been the consequences of all these 26 kids when they got back home, they told their friend? What would have happened to them if they did tell somebody? See, I haven't figured that one out yet.
Good question. I mean, the only thing I could think of that would have been legal at all would have been some sort of punishment against the parents.
Yeah, but the kids still would talk. Zero. This is hard to believe. People who are listening to our program today, I don't know if y'all can really imagine this. The Newtown Bee, the local newspaper, who writes everything about the school, never, ever interviewed one of those children singing at the Super Bowl. They never, ever interviewed the chorus teacher, Mary Rose Christopik, who's still a teacher at Sandy Hook Elementary. Not one story. But watch this. Now, here's the irony. Day of the shooting, December 14, 2012. Tell me how many kids they put out in front of that camera to talk about what it was like at the school that day. Do you remember that? All those children, oh, bullets went whizzing by. Oh, we had to go in our cubbies. Oh, we sang Christmas songs. They had them on national television talking about how they felt, right?
Right.
But we got 26 children singing at the Super Bowl, the greatest day of their life, and they've been given a gag order. Have those 26 children on his show.
Wolf, I was really pleased with the feeling of what we accomplished at the hearing itself, at least by comparison to the other times. I really felt that your point was made to the hearing officers. And just to give people an update on other issues going on as well, Dan Bedandi was handing out flyers for Hartford Community Court, and that was super awesome of him to do that. The information has really been getting around to people that Carl Agello doesn't like to do his job and answer the phone. It's kind of making me wonder about a lot of these people in their positions, avoiding doing their job, or if they're just intentionally doing their job incorrectly.
Well, you know, there are terms that when you're a public official, you're working that kind, it's called breach of duties.
Mm.
They are actually in breach of their duties. They're acting in bad faith. You know what? You may not like talking to Jonathan Reich. It's your job. Jonathan Reich has every right to call you in light of the fact that you have violated every bit of his due process. You have violated every one of his civil rights. You have violated the fact that he has yet to be allowed to see the person who's accusing him of a crime. He has yet to get all of his discovery information. And that is what we're supposed to look at as justice in the Hartford court. And then they turn around and they really hammer him by issuing a arrest warrant and then increasing his bail from $50,000 to $100,000. Now, how in the world do we call that justice? And you know what? Dan Bedondi did a great job the other day when he was up in Hartford, Connecticut, and he went to Hartford Community Court and listened to the people. 3 years and a misdemeanor case has yet to be resolved and closed. He has yet not been allowed to be before a jury of his peers. What kind of justice system is that in Hartford, Connecticut? I mean, there isn't any.
It would seem people that are citizens of this same type of justice system, if you want to call it that, they understand and sympathize with what John is going through in a situation where there really needs to be honesty.
I don't know if that even exists in that Hartford court or even in the judicial system in the state attorney's office. I don't know if it really exists. And the reason I bring that up, I mean, how many times do we hear the term the rule of law? How many times do we hear equal justice for everyone? Equal justice? What does equal justice even mean? When you have Ben Malloy, the son, same age as Jonathan, same age. When you have the son of a governor, sitting governor, commit armed robbery with a firearm and firearm possession, 2 major felonies, and his bail is only $2,500. And then you have Mr. Reich, who they charge with phone harassment, misdemeanor, 1 count, not 2, 1, and his bail is $50,000. Now, who is sitting at that computer? Who is making these decisions? Well, here's Ben Malloy. Well, God, he's the governor's son. Well, we better make that $2,500. Then you've got Jonathan, who lives in New York. Well, let's just make his $50,000, okay? Let's go ahead over here. Ben Malloy, he's the governor's son. Well, they cleared his case in 6 months. Well, these are 2 felonies, and they got rid of it in 6 months. Here's Jonathan for a misdemeanor, 1 count. It's over 3 years. And now, not only is it over 3 years, they enhanced the penalties. They put out an arrest warrant on him. And then they increased his bail to $100,000. Now, what if this was happening to Governor Dan Malloy's son? Would you think the governor would stand for that? Do you think he would stand for that kind of justice? Hell no. But we can't find a damn attorney in Connecticut, in Hartford, Connecticut, that has the balls to take on Governor Malloy and the judicial system on behalf of Jonathan Reich. They should be doing this pro bono. There shouldn't be a goddamn charge to help Jonathan get his due process. And the question we got to ask ourselves in this program, why can't he get help? Why are these attorneys in Hartford, Connecticut so damn scared of Dan Malloy and the judicial system? What's wrong with these people? They took an oath. They took an oath that every person has a right for an attorney.
And the procedure of extradition, I don't understand why that wasn't even upheld in Jonathan's case either. I mean, that should have been a no-brainer about that coming into the entire procedure. But when this is even brought into the equation, it's brought into this repeating, constant rescheduling court date that Jonathan's not even allowed to come into the state to appear for.
Or he'll be arrested. And how can we say that to be true? When I was at a hearing up there recently They actually had Newtown police officers come into the Hartford, Connecticut foyer hearing offices. They were actually looking for him, plainclothes police officer, looking for Jonathan. Hopefully, they were hoping they could catch him so they can put the handcuffs on him. This is how sick these police officers in the justice system is. It's a misdemeanor. Dear God, does anybody out there get that? It's a misdemeanor. In Jonathan's case, I can verify it under oath. I flew up there no less than 7 times. Every time I heard that his name was on the docket, I wanted to be in that courtroom. I wanted to meet his parents. I wanted to see how they were going to treat him on this misdemeanor charge filed by Dr. Wayne Carver. And every time I'm in that daggone courtroom, postponed 7 times. And you know what happens when you get a ticket? Remember that? You get a ticket and you got to go to court. If that policeman doesn't show up on that day, they dismiss the case. Jonathan, 7 times. But it's been more than 7. I just happened to be there 7. That case should have been dismissed after the 2nd time it was on the docket. These people, man, this is intentional and willful. That's not prosecution, it's persecution.
These people working for the state of Connecticut,
These
they are sick.
They are public servant. They took an oath. They have ethics that they're supposed to. They took a code of ethics. And these people don't return phone calls. And I go back to what I said before. I don't care whether they like him or not. When he calls and he wants to talk to a specific person, they should answer the phone because that's what they get paid for. Mm-hmm. Now, had they treated him with respect, had they treated him as the law requires, he would not be calling them.
That's exactly right. And the people of Connecticut, they are paying these people to speak to him. So
I think that, yeah, but zero in fairness, as many times as I've been up there and talking to people at dinner at the airports and talking to them on the street, do you know what? You can tell them this story, and you know what? They know how corrupt. They know how corrupt the state of Connecticut is, and I think they're just like, they'll fold their arms across their chest and say, well, there's just really nothing we can do. I mean, when you get rid of the grand jury, the state grand juries are gone. They've removed all the sheriffs from the state. They have controlled the power with the Connecticut State Police, and then the local police department, you know, they're looked down upon by the state police. They're nothing. They're just like security guards. They're not treated as cops. City police like Newtown, they look at them as a bunch of security guards.
Is there any justice left in the entire state of Connecticut?
But you know, that's what I'm really wondering. When I walked into that hearing the other day on the 27th of July, I didn't know what to expect. But what I did find out, that if you know the law, which Kay Wilson really did a good job, I think if you know the law, you know how to apply it in the proper format, they have to back down because their name is on those documents. Mm-hmm. And what's really ironic about the 2 cases we're talking about, can you imagine if that decision would have stood by the hearing officer, that he and the commission would declare all police officers as witnesses from here on out, that all of their incident reports or narratives would never become public records ever again because they deemed to be witnesses? That's unheard of. That case would have wound up in the United States Supreme Court. Police officers are not witnesses.
Well, it makes me wonder, why would a situation be in such a way that you would not want the police officers to be in the capacity of police officers? What exactly is so different about this situation?
Well, but you got to look at the definition of witnesses. Legislators all across the country, every state is a little different, mm-hmm. but an informant is a witness. We have to protect him, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are witnesses who are just the average Joe Schmo. You know, he observes a crime, he becomes a witness. We have to protect his identity, his address. I mean, there is a reason we exempt witness statements so it doesn't become public by the media to protect their safety. Police officers, their names are all over the internet. You know, their names are posted at the police where they work at. I mean, they know who these people are. So why would you want to protect their names when everybody knows who they are?
They're wearing a name tag or a name badge.
Yes, they are.
It's a very good point.
I never thought they would try that.
It makes me wonder, what is it that is known about the state of Connecticut and its condition of back scratching and handshaking? I mean, was it these conditions of how corrupt it is that was why it was chosen for this? I mean, I can't say for sure.
No, but you and I are just finally learning that there are so many other things that are starting to show up that makes you question Connecticut. And yeah, it makes you question Connecticut and its values and its honesty. I mean, I never would imagine the state of Connecticut ever being corrupt. I think it's a beautiful place. Golly. But to have this kind of corruption, I thought corruption was in New Jersey, you know, the mob and stuff like that. I would have never thought it would find its way into Connecticut. But, you know, when you have a governor, Dan Malloy, when I catch him on the video, Governor, who told you and the lieutenant governor that something like this might happen in your state? When he looks in that camera and tells me I never said that, here lies the problem. You have the governor of the state. He's lying. So what does that say to all the people underneath him?
When I watched that video for the first time, I thought, no, I remember when Malloy said this.
I was in shock. I had to repeat it. I said, Governor, you look great on television. Governor, who told you, who told the lieutenant governor and you that something like that was going to happen in your state? Oh, that wasn't me. No, that wasn't me. And I said, if I send you a copy of the DVD, would you look at it and respond to it? I mailed him a copy. I never to this day heard from him. See, when you are the governor and you do what you just did and you get caught in a lie and you don't have the courage and guts to admit it, that makes you wonder about the Connecticut Freedom of Information Commission. They're all appointed by the governor. I mean, think of all the people appointed by the governor. And you know what? He's your blanket. He's the one that's going to protect you. You know that.
Right.
So that's why I think we're seeing what we're seeing in the justice system and the Hartford Superior Courts, Hartford Community Courts. There is a blanket of immunity that these people are protected. It's just, I mean, nobody, I don't think people will ever understand what you and I are talking about unless you really see it like we have.
Well, Wolf, is there anything else that you would like to discuss before we end this?
No, I just hope that you'll go to www.hartfordcommunitycourt.com. Help Jonathan in every possible manner. I mean, think about it. If you had a son or a daughter that was in this kind of trouble, I hope you'd reach out to us to help you. No young person. I mean, they have destroyed. I mean, this is not just about a misdemeanor. They have destroyed his family, his siblings' life. They have destroyed his life as a young person. For what reason? See, there's your question. Why would you ever do that? Because guess what? Dr. Wayne Carver lied like a dog, and they're protecting him at all costs. When you get him in a deposition, all hell will break loose. We thank you, show 14, and we'll look forward to giving you another update. And make sure, go to our website, www.San Diego Justice Report, and watch the hearing. Watch it for yourself, and you're going to learn how they operate.
All right. Wolf, have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.